Before we go any further, a quick note. Viewer discretion is advised. This story is told purely for entertainment. Now, let me ask you something. What happens when a decorated combat veteran steps straight into the jaws of daytime television and refuses to be torn apart? What you're about to witness is one of the most jaw-dropping moments ever aired. A moment when a soldier walked into a studio, went to war on live TV, and walked out victorious. This is Tulsi Gabbard versus Joy Behar. The View. 16 years of military service colliding head-on with 4 decades of talk show bravado. And what followed didn't just make headlines. It struck a nerve. Because millions of Americans are exhausted by watching veterans be casually disrespected by people who've never worn a uniform, never stood a watch, never deployed into danger. But before we break down this unforgettable confrontation, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because this story only gets more intense from here. Here's how it started. The setup was clean. The trap was deliberate. For weeks, The View had been relentlessly attacking Tulsi Gabbard, not just her politics, but her character, her loyalty, her identity as an American. Joy Behar and her co-host threw label after label her way. Traitor, Russian asset, Trojan horse, useful idiot, for accusations, for character assassinations, all aimed at a woman who had spent nearly her entire adult life serving the very nation she was now being accused of betraying. And the hosts were confident. They expected Tulsi to walk in defensive, apologetic, submissive. They expected her to explain herself, to soften her words, to plead for understanding, just like so many guests before her. What they didn't realize was that they were completely unprepared for who was about to step through those studio doors. Tulsi Gabbard didn't come to apologize. She didn't come to justify herself. And she certainly didn't come to play nice with people who had dragged her name through the mud on national television. She came to set the record straight. And she came armed with something Joy Behar could never manufacture, the unshakable authority of lived experience. Real sacrifice, real service, real patriotism. The moment Tulsi took her seat, the atmosphere changed. You could feel it. The air tightened. The smile stiffened. This wasn't going to be another friendly daytime interview. This was something else entirely. A reckoning. Recently on this show, Tulsi began, calm and precise, "Some of you have accused me of being a traitor to my country." No permission asked. No words softened. She didn't frame it as an opinion. She stated it as fact, because it had been said on camera to millions of viewers. And now there would be accountability. A Russian asset. A Trojan horse. Each accusation landed with force, like controlled strikes, compelling the host to confront the seriousness of what they had tossed around so casually, so recklessly. Or a useful idiot, she added, pausing. I believe that was the term used. Silence. The words lingered in the air, heavy and uncomfortable, like smoke after an explosion. In that pause, everyone in the studio was forced to feel the weight of what it means to label a combat veteran that way. Which basically means, Tulsi continued, that I'm naive or lack intelligence. That translation cut deep, because useful idiot isn't just an insult. It erases a life of service. It dismisses 16 years in uniform, 2 combat deployments, classified briefings, congressional oversight. It says none of it mattered. And for the first time, the confidence across the table began to crack. Joy Behar shifted in her seat. The familiar smirk remained, but it wavered. This wasn't the performance she expected. Tulsi wasn't defensive. She was in control. I want your viewers to know exactly who I am, Tulsi said, leaning forward slightly. Her posture was unmistakable. Straight back, squared shoulders, eyes forward, disciplined, focused, like a soldier locking onto a target. Let me set the record straight. For simple words, carrying the weight of 16 years of service, a warning and a promise all at once. I am a patriot. No hesitation. No qualifiers. No apology. This wasn't a claim. It was a declaration. I love our country. Words often spoken on that show, but rarely backed by action. From Tulsi, they carried the unmistakable weight of sacrifice. I am a strong and intelligent woman of color. With that sentence, she reclaimed every label they tried to twist. Strong, not weak. Intelligent, not a useful idiot. A woman of color who would not be patronized or dismissed. And I have dedicated almost my entire adult life to protecting the safety, security, and freedom of every American. The studio went silent. 200 audience members, 4 co-hosts, dozens of crew behind the cameras, all confronted in real time with the reality of who they had been attacking and what true service actually looks like. This is not a political puppet. This is not a shadowy operative. This is not a foreign agent hiding in plain sight. This is a soldier, a veteran, a congresswoman, a patriot, someone who put her life on the line overseas, while her critics sat comfortably in air-conditioned studios, casually questioning her loyalty to the country she served. And right about here, Joy Behar senses the momentum slipping. She tries to regain control. She pivots. She reaches for her go-to tactic. Guilt by association. We're getting a little far ahead of ourselves here. The dismissal is instant. Tulsi is laying out her record, her service, her credibility. And Joy wants to skip right past all of it, because the last thing she wants is viewers actually hearing what Tulsi has done. So she pivots back to the smear lane. But Franklin Graham finds you refreshing. The implication hangs in the air like toxic smoke. Franklin Graham is a conservative. Conservatives are bad. So if a conservative likes you, you must be bad too. That's the logic. Tulsi doesn't hesitate. He does not find me refreshing. Immediate, direct, the premise is rejected outright. Tulsi refuses to be defined by who supposedly supports her. She will be judged by her own actions, her own record, her own service. But Joy isn't finished. She chambers another round. Richard Spencer, the white nationalist leader, says he could vote for you. The accusation is staggering in its dishonesty. A man Tulsi has never met, never spoken to, never associated with, says he might vote for her. And somehow, that's supposed to stain her character? By that standard, every candidate is responsible for every unstable person who claims to support them. It's absurd. It's lazy. And Tulsi is done tolerating it. Joy, this is why I'm here. Her tone sharpens. The polite politician fades. The soldier steps forward. Because you and others keep spreading these innuendos that have nothing to do with who I am. Innuendos. That's the word. Not facts. Not evidence. Just vague implications. Designed to damage reputations without ever having to prove a thing. Joy tries to interrupt. Her mouth opens. The familiar tactic. The verbal bulldozer that's flattened countless guests. Kicks in. It fails. Not today. Not against this opponent. Not against someone who has faced real enemies in real combat zones. Tulsi rolls straight through the interruption like a tank over a speed bump. Unfortunately, you double down on baseless accusations made by Hillary Clinton. And there it is. The source. The origin of the smear campaign. The puppeteer behind the curtain, while Joy performs a routine on national television. That strikes at the core of who I am. Not a policy disagreement. Not a political difference. An attack on her identity. Her honor. Her integrity. I am a soldier because of the attacks on September 11th. The studio freezes. September 11th. The day everything changed. The day Tulsi Gabbard chose to serve, while others stayed exactly where they were. I enlisted in the military to go after, defeat, and destroy the evil that attacked us that day. Go after, defeat, destroy. Those aren't talking points. Those are actions. I have served for over 16 years. 16 years. Let that settle. 16 years of deployments. Training. Sacrifice. Duty. 16 years while critics talked about patriotism from comfortable chairs. I deployed twice to the Middle East during the height of the war. Twice. Not once. Twice. She went into the fire. Came home. Then volunteered to go back again. That is not the behavior of a foreign asset. That is the behavior of someone who believes in this country. Every single day, I saw firsthand incredibly high human cost of war. Not occasionally, not abstractly. Every single day. The blood, The loss. The families shattered. The flag-draped coffins. And that's why I ran for Congress. Now the picture becomes clear. September 11th led to enlistment. Enlistment led to deployment. Deployment led to witnessing the cost of war. And that reality led her to run for office, to change the policies that create that cost. This isn't someone who studied war in briefing books. This is someone who lived it, breathed it, bled for it, and chose to act. Joy sits quietly now, her arguments depleted, her confidence cracking. But Tulsi isn't finished yet, because the final blow is coming, and it targets the source directly. The clip rolls. Hillary Clinton's voice fills the studio. I'm not making any predictions, but I think they have their eye on someone in the Democratic primary and are grooming her to be a third-party candidate. Grooming, a loaded word, suggesting manipulation, control. That Tulsi isn't thinking for herself. She's the favor of the Russians. No evidence, no proof, no intelligence cited. They got sites and bots supporting her. The digital boogeyman, vague, unprovable, convenient. Accuse first, never substantiate. And assuming Jill Stein doesn't give it up, she's also a Russian asset. 2 women, 2 public servants, both labeled foreign assets with zero evidence. This isn't debate. This is modern-day McCarthyism. Tulsi responds instantly. This is outrageous. She lets it land. This is outrageous and offensive on so many levels. This isn't about policy. This is character assassination. And she refuses to let it slide. I've served in Congress for nearly 7 years. 7 years of legislation, hearings, votes, constituent service, added to 16 years in uniform, receiving high-level national security and intelligence briefings. The kind of briefings only trusted officials receive. The kind that require exhaustive background checks and security clearances. Ask yourself, if she were actually a foreign asset, would she still have those clearances? Would she still be sitting in those rooms? Would she still be trusted with classified intelligence? She continues, serving on the Foreign Affairs Committee, the Armed Services Committee, the Homeland Security Committee, 3 of the most sensitive committees in Congress, Foreign Affairs, Armed Services, Homeland Security, a supposed foreign agent on all 3. The accusation isn't just offensive, it's ridiculous. And through it all, Tulsi brings it back to one thing: working every single day to protect the safety and security of the American people. This is what Tulsi Gabbard actually does. She doesn't just talk about safety and security on a daytime set. She works on it inside committee rooms, during classified briefings, and in halls of Congress where real decisions are made and real consequences follow. And that's why I'm running for president, she says. To continue a lifetime commitment to service, a commitment to sacrifice, a commitment to putting country above self, something Joy Behar will never truly understand because she has never lived it. Sensing the shift, the hosts change tactics. The tone softens. The posture becomes sympathetic, still patronizing, but quieter. Are you surprised, one asks, that when people see bots and all the things we've been seeing heading your way, that they have these questions? Translation: maybe you're not a traitor, but can you really blame us for treating you like one? And then comes a deflection. Hillary isn't the only one saying this. The defense begins. If multiple people repeat the same claim, it must be legitimate. Never mind that they're all echoing the same source. The smear has been recycled enough times to masquerade as truth. So what she's saying, the host continues, is that she feels you're being groomed. You're saying no one's grooming you. They try to frame it as a polite disagreement. 2 opinions, reasonable people on opposite sides. But Tulsi refuses to let them shrink it down. I'm doing what I'm doing because I am a soldier and a patriot. Soldier, patriot, 2 words that define 16 years of her life. 2 words that have been casually dismissed moments earlier. It's offensive to me as a soldier. And then, one by one, she reclaims who she is. First, the soldier, the woman who enlisted after September 11th and served for 16 years. Second, the patriot, a citizen who loves her country enough to fight for it and sacrifice for it. Third, the congresswoman, an elected representative trusted by her constituents and cleared by her government to handle the nation's most sensitive secrets. Fourth, the combat veteran, a warrior who has seen war firsthand and carries those experiences every single day. And finally, the woman, in a field dominated by men, who has fought twice as hard to be taken half as seriously, now demeaned by other women through baseless accusations. 5 identities, 5 pillars of her life, all attacked by people who served nowhere, sacrificed nothing, and risked nothing for this country. But now, Tulsi stops defending and starts counterattacking, and her target is the real architect of the destruction being ignored. I'm pointing to the fact that she has continued this legacy of being the world's police. She names Hillary Clinton directly, the champion of interventionist foreign policy, the advocate of regime change, the decisions that led to wars costing the lives of thousands of American service members. My brothers and sisters in uniform. Not statistics, not abstractions. Real people. People Tulsi served beside. People she knew. People she watched return home in flag-draped coffins. I am speaking out against that. And suddenly, the real reason for the attacks becomes clear. Not because Tulsi is a foreign asset. That claim collapses under its own weight. But because she dares to challenge a foreign policy establishment. She questions endless wars. She speaks for soldiers who pay the price for Washington's failures. Joy tries one last move. One final attempt to regain control of an interview that has completely slipped away. Are you serious? Are you serious? The reflex of someone with no argument left. When you can't refute the facts, question the person presenting them. So you serve in the war. Are you saying she died in Iraq? The question is confused, desperate, a reach for anything that might stick. Tulsi remained steady, calm under pressure. She championed regime change in Libya. Libya, the country reduced from stable to shattered, a failed state, open slave markets, chaos spilling across North Africa, and into Europe. I believe the lies that were told to us. Tulsi owns her mistake. She voted for intervention. She trusted the narrative. The difference? She learned. She changed. She grew. Well, so did she, Joy replies. And that's when the trap snaps shut. Hillary believed the same lies. But instead of learning from them, she pushed for more interventions, more regime changes, more wars, more American lives lost. It is indisputable, Tulsi says, then repeats it, so there's no confusion. It is indisputable. This isn't opinion. This isn't spin. This is verifiable history. For her entire career, Hillary Clinton has championed an interventionist foreign policy. Not once, not twice, consistently. A pattern, a philosophy, a worldview that treats American military power as a tool to reshape the world, to play global police officer and topple regimes at will. And toppling dictators sounds noble until you look at what comes next. Chaos, civil wars, power vacuums, extremist groups rushing in, and then American soldiers are sent to clean up the wreckage. More destruction, more loss of life. For Tulsi Gabbard, those aren't abstract ideas. She's seen the destruction. She's lived with the consequences. She's held the hands of dying soldiers. She's written letters to families whose lives were shattered forever. I am against that, she says plainly, and I'm running for president to change that. There it is, the mission statement. Tulsi isn't running for power. She isn't chasing prestige. She's running to end the endless wars that cost so much and achieve so little. And instead of debating her on the substance of that message, her opponents resort to smear campaigns. That's the real story. They can't defeat her on the merits. They can't defend endless war. They can't justify policies that have failed catastrophically. So they do what weak arguments always do. They attack character instead. Undermine, smear, destroy. These are the tools of political assassination. And the message is crystal clear. Step out of line, challenge the establishment, and this is what happens to you. This was never just about Tulsi. It was a warning to everyone else. Question the consensus, and you will be targeted. And then something remarkable happens. The audience erupts. Not polite applause. Not performative clapping. Real, thunderous applause. The kind that comes from people who've waited years to see someone stand up to this kind of bullying. The ambush failed. Completely. The soldier walked in and walked out victorious. Joy Behar sat stunned. Her talking points exhausted. Her attacks neutralized. The smug confidence she began with now replaced by disbelief. This wasn't supposed to happen. Guests are supposed to shrink on the view. They're supposed to apologize. They're supposed to explain themselves. They are not supposed to fight back. And they are definitely not supposed to win. But Tulsi Gabbard isn't a typical guest. She's a soldier. And soldiers don't surrender just because the odds look stacked. Now pause for a moment and really take this in. On one side of the table, Tulsi Gabbard, 16 years of military service, 2 combat deployments to the Middle East, 7 years in Congress, service on 3 of the most sensitive committees in government, the highest security clearances in the nation, a record of sacrifice that speaks for itself. On the other side, Joy Behar, a talk show host, a comedian, someone whose career has unfolded in climate-controlled studios, offering opinions while others defended the country. And somehow, the talk show host believed she had the moral authority to question the soldiers' patriotism. It would be laughable if it weren't so offensive. And then there's the source of the smear itself, Hillary Clinton, a woman who never wore a uniform, never deployed, never put herself in harm's way. Her foreign policy expertise comes from proximity to power, marriage to president, and a tenure as Secretary of State marked by Libya's collapse, Benghazi, and a region plunged deeper into chaos. And let's not forget, she lost. She lost the presidential election to a reality television host. The American people looked at Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump and chose the game show host. That is the person whose accusations were repeated as gospel on national television. Meanwhile, the person being attacked did everything right. Tulsi enlisted after September 11th. She served 16 years. She deployed twice. She won election to Congress. She earned top-level security clearances. She served on committees overseeing national defense. So what was her real crime? She thought independently. She opposed wars that were killing her brothers and sisters in uniform. She refused to fall in line. She challenged the party establishment. She backed Bernie Sanders instead of Hillary Clinton in 2016. She put principle above career. And for that, for the unforgivable sin of integrity, she was branded a traitor by people who have never served, never sacrificed, and never risked anything for this country. This is the state of political discourse in America today. Attack the veteran, smear the soldier, question the patriot, destroy anyone who dares to think differently, and then act shocked when they fight back. But Tulsi didn't just fight back. She won decisively. Joy Behar was left exposed, outmatched, outclassed. Her arguments collapsed under the weight of real service and real facts. Her co-hosts offered no rescue. This is what happens when talking points collide with lived experience. This is what happens when someone who's been to war is lectured by someone who's only talked about it. You don't ambush a soldier and expect an easy victory. Soldiers know how to fight back. So here's the lesson. Don't question the patriotism of people who have served simply because you disagree with their politics. Don't label combat veterans as foreign assets because a bitter political figure told you to. Don't confuse opinion with fact or a television studio with moral authority. Tulsi Gabbard may never become president. She may not even win a primary. But on that day, in that studio, against that ambush, she won. Completely. And Joy Behar learned something important. Some people don't back down. Now, you don't have to agree with everything Tulsi believes. You don't have to support every position she takes. But she conducted herself with honor, dignity, and the kind of courage that only comes from real sacrifice. This is a sitting congresswoman, a serving member of the armed forces, someone who has earned the right to be heard without being smeared as a traitor. And that brings us to the real takeaway. This story isn't just about Tulsi. It's not just about Joy. It's not even about Hillary. It's about us. What kind of political discourse are we willing to accept? Smears instead of substance? Accusations instead of arguments? Personal destruction instead of debate? Or do we demand better? Evidence before accusations. Debate instead of innuendo. Judging public servants by their records, not conspiracy theories. Tulsi Gabbard showed one path. Facts, dignity, and confidence forged through service. Joy Behar showed another. Cheap shots and intellectual cowardice disguised as commentary. The choice is ours. So what do you think? Was Tulsi right to confront Joy directly? Should more politicians push back against media smear campaigns? Do veterans deserve more respect from people who've never served? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this breakdown powerful, subscribe for more stories that matter. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. This has been another deep dive into moments that define our discourse. See you in the next one.